Are we going to buy the A9III on Camilla and I? Well, on Camilla and I, we have owned both the Sony A9 and the A9 II, but we have sold both in favour of the Sony A1. So why is the A9III even on our radar on Camilla and I, as it has half the number of megapixels as the Sony A1 for the sensor? Well, the key feature for wildlife on the new camera is the global shutter. This camera, as predicted here on Camilla and I, is a total speed demon. This creates a tremendous frames per second of 120, essentially a frame from a 4K 120 video, but in RAW, which is absolutely amazing. But anyway, we have more questions about the sensor, so we'll come back to that one later on. The other feature we're particularly interested in on the A9III is the pre-capture, the ability to half press the shutter, and when your subject moves, to take the second before the full depression of the shutter button. Absolutely incredible for that pre-capture of birds taking off from branches, whatever, for that animal just about to spring into action. This is a tremendous feature, and this is something we've been wanting from Sony on Camilla and I, because we are totally wedded to the Sony system. So the A9III should have better autofocus in video mode than the Sony A1. 4K 120 downsampled from 6K, but we want to see more. But it looks great so far on the video I've seen, and the A9III does look like an all-rounder, like the A1, good at both video and stills. But there's a lot more to learn about this camera, and we're not rushing out to buy, which is just as well, because it won't be in the shops until next year. This new camera is really one you want to try before you buy, and that's where your local independent castle cameras comes into play here in Salisbury, Wiltshire in the UK. Remember to keep your small independent stores going. Well, here on Camilla and I, we are very interested in this camera and hope Sony will be sending me one to try out very soon. We may be a small channel, but we do use a lot of Sony gear. Oh, quick Sony gear. And a quick plug, hopefully Camilla and I will be appearing on TV this coming Sunday morning. Alan Titchmarsh's Morning Britain hopefully is going to feature some video taken with this very camera of dragonflies in a segment on British rivers. So yeah, footage taken with this camera and the 70 to 200mm last summer. So yeah, if you're in on a wet Sunday morning, which is looking likely at the moment, don't forget to check out Camilla and I. Should be at least 4 seconds of footage on Alan Titchmarsh's show. Anyway, coming back to the A9III, why haven't we put in a pre-order for the A9III? Well, coming back to the global shutter, this is revolutionary new tech. And does it actually work? I mean, there are a couple of cameras out there apparently with global shutters already, but this is brand new for the DSLR digital camera market, really. It is incredible to get a full frame camera with a global shutter. Absolutely amazing. And also it has a starting ISO range at 250, not 100 like the A1. So what will the low light capabilities be of a 24.6 megapixel sensor? It should be very good, but it does have this starting ISO at 250. Do we actually need 120 frames per second? Surely 30 does us just fine in the Sony A1. Do we need another button with a super burst mode to get 120 frames per second? So, are we going to sacrifice quality for speed? So if you own the Sony A1, do you need the A9III? And indeed, the A9III is only going to cost here in the UK about £500 less than the Sony A1. And also, if you own the A1, is the firmware update, which ain't coming till the new year, is it going to level up the A1's game to near the A9III? I'll see. So to sum up, are we going to buy the A9III on Camilla I? And the answer here on Camilla I is gas, gear acquisition syndrome. We do buy an awful lot of equipment on Camilla I, as you may have noticed, because we do test out quite a few bits of equipment, see our reviews. And we do have a need for speed, but that's why we own the Sony A1. Is the autofocus system even better on the A9III with the global shutter system? Or is the low light footage and stills even better as we operate in the golden hours for our wildlife, and we also operate in the rain because we live in the UK? Will we actually get a more decisive moment with the A9III because we've got another 90 frames per second to choose from? Who knows? We may buy this camera yet. And also on Camilla I, of course, we want this pre-capture ability. We've been wanting it for some time, and I don't think it will be available in a firmware update on the A1. And indeed, also the new camera does seem to have a more ergonomic body, although the A1 is very good, is very firm in the hand, and has got very good position buttons for Camilla I. And of course the other angle is there going to be a Sony A1 Mark II next year? It may be some time before the A1 specifications, the A1 II, catches up with the A9III. So we could be waiting for a couple of years for the A1 II. One thing I think we can count out is the A1 has not got the global shutter, so I don't think it will be possible for the A1 to be updated to anywhere near the potential of the A9III. So ultimately on Camilla I, we're looking for an improvement in our wildlife photography, and this could be an improvement for a couple of years because most of the camera manufacturers now will take at least a couple of years to catch up, I should think. And then, before long, everybody will be having a global shutter. So unfortunately, at the moment, there are more questions than answers, but we still have a few months to decide because Sony aren't releasing the A9 II until the new year. So I've asked my community whether they will be buying the A9III, and so far it's been a thumbs down, 100% thumbs down. But please leave your thoughts and comments below, please. Will you be rushing out to buy the A9III, or have you got more questions like we have on Camilla I? So if you've followed the adventures of Camilla I, you will know that we have more money than sense here on Camilla I, and there is every chance we will replace the Sony A1 with the Sony A9III. Have a good one. Bye from the current Camilla and I.